Okay, so literal equations and formula, okay? So a literal equation is an equation that involves two or more variables. So far we've only had one, right? And we've been solving them. So what we want to do is, this is our understanding. When you work with literal equations, you can use the methods you've learned in this chapter to isolate one of the variables, okay? Isolate means get it by itself so that it says like x equals, and the rest of the equation, whether there's letters in it or not, is on the other side of the equal sign. That's the idea. So your final answer might not be a number. It might not be x equals 10, right? It might be x equals 2b plus 7, all right? So just bear with me, and I'll help you. So here's our first problem. To rewrite a literal equation, I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. And that got, okay, now we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so the equation 10x plus 5y equal 80, where x is the number of pizzas and y is the number of sandwiches, models the problem in the solve it. So there's a book here that we had solve it, but we're not worried about that. How many sandwiches can you buy if you buy 3 pizzas or 6 pizzas, right? So what you want to do is rewrite it with the information that you've got. So our information is 3 pizzas. The pizzas is x, isn't it? Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute 3 in for x. And they don't tell us why, do they? So we're going to say, all right, 10 times 3 plus 5y equals 80 first. Because we're going to substitute the information we know. Well, we can simplify that. 10 times 3 is 30. Plus 5y equal 80. Now we've gotten rid of one of the 2 variables, haven't we? Now can we solve it? Yes, we can. Okay. So one of the types is to get rid of that variable by, this is called substitution. So this right here, we substitute in a number for one of the variables, and then we simplify, and now we can solve this like we know how. I'm going to keep my y's on the left, and I'm going to put my numbers on the right. So which one should I cancel out first? Raise your hand. Don't just yell it out. Carla, go. 30. We're going to subtract 30 from both sides. And then we're going to get 5y's left here equals now 80 minus 30 is 50. Raise your hand if you know what I do next. Go ahead. Divide by 5. And we get y equal 10. And what are we talking about in this problem? Sandwiches. So in this case, if they buy 3 pizzas, they can afford to buy 10 sandwiches, right? Now, the other reason that students get confused is because they're like, but they also said 6 pizzas. They gave us 2 numbers there. That means there should be 2 answers. All right. So this is one answer, right? 10 sandwiches when we buy 3 pizzas. They can afford 10 sandwiches. So sometimes you have to do it again and substitute again, all right? So if we're going to buy 6 pizzas, do you think we're going to be able to afford more or less sandwiches? Less, right? Because we spend more on pizzas. So here we go. This time we would do 10 times 6 plus 5y equals 80. So that 80, what does that represent, do you think? Yeah, that's the amount they have to spend, isn't it? All right, that's the total. So 10 times 6 is 60 plus 5y equal 80. Now, some of you can do this in your mind. Think about this. If you spent $60 on pizza and you only have $80 to spend, right? How much do you have left? 20, right? How much does each sandwich cost? 5. How many sandwiches can you buy? 4. Okay, but the math is to subtract 60, right? And then we get 5y equal 20. This is doing it out, right? Then we would divide by 5. And yeah, we got it with our logic, but we would only be able to buy 4 sandwiches. Don't be afraid on some of these tests that you end up taking, NWEA, PSAT, SAT, when you get there. If you can see it without doing all of it, use your logic and get it, because some of these are going to be time tests, okay? If you can use your logic to do it, do it. All right, that's not so bad, is it? The next one looks scary. All right, here we go. Do not get panicky when you see all the letters in all the land, okay? So there are literally no numbers, are there? Okay, so notice what it says, rewriting a literal equation with only variables. So rewriting is the key here. We're going to still have all these letters in here. We're just going to rearrange them, okay? So it says, what equation do you get when you solve ax minus bx equals c for x? So this is the important part. 4x means that we need to make this say x equals, and the rest of the letters and numbers, if they were in there, would have to be on the other side. Okay? We're going to make it say x equal, and everything else is going to be on the other side. All right? Yes, that's all that means. And so they can change it to any letter. So the first thing is we want to group our x here. So notice how there are 2 of them, right? So to be able to group it, this is multiplied and so is this. So we're going to do this. We're going to group it by doing x on the outside of the set of parentheses. We're going to group that equals c. The reason this works is if we were to distribute this, right? X times a is ax. X times b is bx. Okay, now we needed to say x equals. Remember, this means times, doesn't it? How do I undo the times and get that? We divide, okay? So I'm going to divide this side by the whole quantity, a minus b, and cancel it. And I'm going to divide this side by the whole quantity, a minus b. Do I have anything left besides x on the left? On the left. No. So I have x left equals c over a minus b. This is the answer. Because we are just rewriting it so it says x is all by itself on one side and the rest of it's on the other. Now, I will give you a disclaimer. This is one of the most challenging ones we will do because of the grouping. But most of the time, we don't have to group. I'll show you as we go, okay? And so, again, I beg you to stay with me, right? It's going to take some practice on our part. All right, flip. All right, this is what I would say you are going to see the absolute most, okay? So I copied when you do the PSAT this year, all right? The first page of the math section will have all of these formulas written out for you, plus probably more. They will give you those, okay? So here's all the formulas of different things you might use. Now, then somewhere in there, they're going to give you questions like these. So it says, what is the radius of a circle with the circumference of 64 feet? Round to the nearest tenth. Use 3.14 for pi. Okay, so what your job is to go, okay, I'm trying to find the radius and I have circumference. So which one of these formulas do you think that you should use? David, go ahead. C equals R. Yes. C equals R. 2 times pi times R. Yep. So we're going to use C equals 2 times pi times R. So you would pick that out from that formulas page is what you would do. And then you're going to put in what you know from the question. So we know 64 is one piece of information. Is that going to be C or pi or R? C, right? Circumference. So we're going to replace that. The 2 is just 2. What does it tell us is pi? 3.14. And r is what we don't know, right? Okay, let's simplify. Can I multiply 2 times 3.14? Okay, do it. 64 now equals 2 times 3.14. If you type that in a calculator, Carla, what do you get? 6.28 times r. Okay, this is why this is in solving equations. How do we solve for r now? Not subtract. Zemaya, what do? We don't multiply. Welcome. We divide. We are doing this. We're trying to undo this, right? So the opposite of multiply is to divide by 6.28. Here, cancel it out. If we divide it over here, we will get our final answer. We will get 64 divided by 6.28. What do we get when we divide that? Go ahead, on. What did you get? 10.19 on this side equals, on this side, all that's left is r. This is the radius. That's the answer. Okay? Again, we will need to practice. This is new. This is challenging. All right, last one, which again is challenging. The story problems are challenging. And I encourage you to use the formulas, right? So in this case, it says, ooh, let's put this on screen. So we can see it. Well, I don't know why I have like a weird spot in here that's a little bit dark. All right. The monarch butterfly is the only butterfly that migrates annually north and south. The distance that a particular group of monarch butterflies travels is shown, and I don't have the picture. It takes a typical butterfly about 120 days to travel one way. What is the average rate that it travels in miles per day? And I apologize, but I'm going to have to, we are going to need that picture, and I didn't realize that when I did this and copied it for this. So let me bring the picture up from my one book that I have here. So my apologies for that, but I try to copy everything that we need. So hold on, I will bring the picture up. What problem is that? Problem 4. And we are on 2-5, correct? Okay. So I shall find it. Okay. So 2-5. Here is the picture right here. Okay, so here's the picture we're working with. See if I can get them on screen at the same time. Oh, look at that monarch. I can't get them on the same time, but it's traveling. The idea is that it's traveling from Indiana to Mexico, and it's 1,700 miles. So let's write that down. Our distance on here, according to our picture, that butterfly is making it 1,700 miles. All right. The distance the monarch is traveling is 1,700 miles. Okay, now we know that. We know that it's going to take 120 days. And we're trying to figure out what's the average rate, okay? So let's look at our formulas. Joelle, what should be the formula that we use? The distance traveled, D equals RT, right here. So we're going to go ahead and say D equals RT. All right, what can I replace D with? Yes, okay. Equals. And now 120 days, is that the R, the rate, or the time, the T? Yeah, it's a time. So R times 120. How do I solve for R now? What do I do? Speciosa, go ahead. By what? Yes, that's right. Divide by 120. Excellent. Cancel. Divide it over here. 1,700 divided by 120 will give us our rate. What do you get? Go ahead, on. 14.16. And this is in what? Miles per day. Yes, okay. And it tells you here days and miles are our units. Perfect. Okay, good. That's the lesson. Now, we are going to not do all of these. I picked them out specifically. So on 2-5 practice, here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to help you, so don't get weirded out here. We're going to do 2, 4, 6, and 8. We're going to do 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, sorry. And that's it. Okay? All right. So if you're watching because you are absent today and you need extra help, please email me or come see me.